Hi guys, welcome back to another video. Today we're going to be talking about study tips. If you're new here, welcome to the channel. I'm Michelle. I have just graduated from my Bachelor of Science degree at the University of Melbourne. We're going to be talking about the 4 things that I did in order to get my grades up from the fail in first year to the highest band of grades by the time I graduated. So really quickly, just for a bit of context, and if you don't want the context then you can skip ahead a few seconds. I did my 3-year degree in 4 years. One of the reasons you'll find out in the actual tips section. The second reason is because I added the concurrent diploma, which in layman terms is kind of just adding more subjects to your university experience. It gives you more freedom to study things you want that are outside of your degree. The other reason is because I went on exchange. So I finished my 3-year degree in 4 years and I got 2 qualifications out of it. One is a bachelor's, the other one is a diploma in Latin. So I failed a subject in first year. It was literally the easiest subject I had that year. That obviously took it out of me and I was like, if you're at the University of Melbourne, you're not supposed to be one of the people who fail. Anyway, that was the whole mentality behind it. I know it's been tough for a lot of people lately, what with COVID and everything, but things just sometimes happen. If you came out of last year or last school year with a fail or with a grade lower than what you wanted, then follow the tips. Without further ado, let's get to it. Let's get to the study tips to get your grades from fails to high distinctions in H1. Enjoy the tips. Okay, so the first tip is actually attend the classes, the lectures, the tutorials, the seminars, all of that, and engage with the content. Ask questions, answer questions even if you get them wrong. I'm not even going to complain. My fail in first year was completely something I could have avoided. I think I attended 3 of the 36 lectures. Totally understandable if you don't like the whole social interaction side of things. Work out what works well for you because different people, different situations. But at home, you're gonna have the tendency to be lazy, to fall asleep. You'll have much more trouble falling asleep when you've got the opportunity to ask questions and to answer questions. It's actually gonna help things stick in your brain much more than if you're just passively writing things down or watching things or hearing things that you're not even engaging in, you're not even attending. I definitely think that attending the classes and engaging in the content properly contributed to a rise of about 20% in my grades. It actually makes such a big difference to be there in person or to be there live when things are happening. Do it, okay? Just do it. Do it! And that point leads in really nicely to the next tip. Tip number 2, check your study methods. For the lectures I watched online, I was just passively writing down what the lecturer was telling us. I was not thinking about what was going on, I was just doing it. I got satisfaction obviously from seeing the pages get filled in, but I wasn't actually getting the knowledge out of it and it was all passive learning. If you find that you can't even answer a question that's being given to you as an example, then you're probably not studying actively. Make the transition from passive studying to active studying. Are you studying alone so that there's no accountability with anyone else, or are you studying in groups? Not just a whole accountability side of things, but it's actually more fun. This is something I took up and I felt myself getting more excited to study instead of feeling like I had to do a chore or I had to study to get the high grades. It just became something that felt really nice to be part of my routine, to study either with a study with me video if I was by myself or study with a partner or a group of friends. So that tip number 2 is check your study habits and study methods. And if it's not working for you and you realize that entire time you're studying passively instead of actively, figure out a way to switch that. So many study tips videos. Get to it, figure out what works for you to get those grades boosted. These next 2 tips are less practical tips and more reflective. The third tip is actually find balance. This can go either ways. You can definitely be studying too much that you burn out, or you could not be studying enough that you don't get to take in the content that you need to be learning, that you need to be taking in. When I failed this subject, I was doing way too little for it and way too much at the same time. I wasn't doing enough because I wasn't spending the time in a way that mattered. As the years went by, so 2nd year and 3rd year subjects, I found myself studying smarter instead of harder. And I found myself having more time to spare for recreational things, for doing things I like, for doing things that I find fun. And that definitely contributed to me raising my grades from that fail in first year to the higher grades by the time I got to final year. Lastly, in first year, I was actually majoring in physics. I love physics. It is the most sensical, is that a word? It is the science with the most sense. And that was the reason why I went into it, was because I liked that everything had a reason. Of all the sciences, it's the one I enjoyed the most and I knew I definitely wanted to do science. After seeing all my grades through the first year, which is 2 semesters at Melbourne, I definitely wanted to improve my grades, but I also wanted to enjoy what I was learning more. So I had a whole crisis moment where I reconsidered what I was studying. Take this with a grain of salt. I'm not telling you to completely change your course. I changed my major and I also took up Latin. It's one of the highest grades I've ever gotten. I took a summer intensive and I got an 89 for it. So that's doing a year's worth of Latin in, I think it was 7 weeks or 8 weeks, which is crazy to me now that I think about the fact that I was able to do that. I enjoyed so much what I was studying. I engaged in it and I did all the other things that we spoke about in the first 3 tips. As you can see, there's such a stark difference between my grades in the subject I failed in first year and that Latin one, which was, I think, the beginning of me getting higher and higher grades. I ended up taking a physiology subject just for funsies. It changed everything. I fell in love with physiology, so I completely changed my major. Of course, there was some hesitation at first because I've spent a year trying to develop my physics knowledge to do that as a major by 3rd year. I felt like it was such a waste to let that go just to do physiology. If I remember correctly, doing my exam for physiology, it wasn't the best time for me. It definitely wasn't the most focused I've ever been. But seeing my grades for physiology turn out the way they did and comparing that to how much time I spent for biochemistry, physics, and maths and all that in first year, I realized that it was definitely something that I enjoyed and I fell in love with. So I wanted to pursue that more. It's a lot of effort to study, but it feels like much less effort to study things you love. I had a deep think about it. I had many nights of like arguing with myself and going back and forth, but eventually I did settle and I did find peace in my decision to switch majors from physics to physiology. Again, grain of salt. I'm not telling you to switch your major, your course, but really consider it. Are you really enjoying what you're studying? And is it something you can keep studying? You'll enjoy it even though it's hard. Are you just being stubborn because you've done it for a certain amount of time and you don't want to change anymore? And if you find that you're not going to switch majors, you're not going to switch degrees, that's fine as well. What you've just done is really considered why you're studying something and how much you really love it. And that's kind of encouraging enough as it is to keep studying it, to keep trying for it, even though you might get a bad grade or 2 or 3 or so many more. It's going to be worth it because you've just rethought about how much you love it. On top of just switching majors, obviously I did take up another study area altogether, another field, another faculty altogether. Between my actual degree and my diploma, I have consistently gotten high grades in my diploma compared to my degree. It's not entirely a bad thing, and I know some people might be thinking, then why didn't you switch? It's because while I do enjoy it, it's not what I am in love with. So I'm in love more with the sciences. It's what I can see myself doing in the future as a career instead of the arts, although arts is definitely something I enjoy. And in that, again, I think we kind of tap into point number 3, which is find balance. And I found balance between the sciences and the arts because I was doing them at the same time and enjoying them both at the same time, but not getting drained with, reading too much and thinking of the arts too much, or just reading scientific papers too much. If you can do that in your degree, I strongly encourage you to do it. It helps to not be monotonous. That is it for this study tips video. I hope that it helps you, and I do know that after a year of what felt like hard work for you, seeing your grade as a fail or seeing your grade as much less than what you were aiming for can definitely be disheartening. Keep going. Take what I just told you, watch other YouTube videos, and apply those things to your studies from this point. Figure out what works for you and really just think about it. Bad grades happen to a lot of people. You're not the only one. If you love it and if you're enjoying it and if it's something you really want to do, then it's worth it's worth every fail, really. I really do hope that watching this video has given you just a couple of ideas about how you can switch up your grades from getting a fail or getting a really low grade to boosting it. Thank you so much for coming to another video, and I've definitely missed doing my outro because I haven't done a sit down video in a while. If you want to see more content like this, let me know. Please don't forget to like, share, subscribe, comment, and press the notification bell and anything else that there might be to do with YouTube. I appreciate you. I'm cheering you on from wherever I am. I'm cheering you on. You can do it. Get those good grades, you baddie. God bless. Have a fantastic week. Love you all. I have so little time to film this. Oof. Majoring in physiology. Did I have a lisp just then?